Alright, welcome back. So in this video, we are going to see a code along for control flow in JavaScript, and we are going to use the two things that we have learned till now, which are the conditionals and the loops in the same program, and we'll make something which will actually help you get clear in writing those codes, right? Yeah, so I've written exercise here, but this is basically a code along. So when I refresh the page, you see I get a prompt saying enter starting number. So let's say I enter 12 and enter ending number, let's say I enter 22, right? So it doesn't look like anything has changed, but if I inspect and if I go to console, I see I get something like 12 is even, 13 is odd. So it's starting from the starting number and ending at the ending number, and it prints is even or is odd in front of each of these numbers depending on what they are. Like if they are even, it says is even. If they are odd, it says is odd. And if I refresh again, let's say I enter 30 and 44 this time. So this is 30 is even, 31 is odd, and so on till 44 is even, right? So this is what we're going to make, and first we'll do this without the prompts. We'll fix the starting and the ending, and then we'll take our prompts into account, right? So let's start with this. Right. So I have a untitled file open here. Let me save this as in JavaScript workflow. I'll save this as let's say JS code along.html, right? I first need an HTML file. So I'll get my standard template, and again I will indent all of this, and I'll put an h1 saying code along. The title will also be code along, right? So now instead of we'll make a separate JS file. So I'll make a new file and I'll save this as jscodealong.js, right? And now I'll give the alert connected just to check that it is working, and then I'll link this down here. I'll give the src is equal to, I do not want the dot slash here. jscodealong.js, right? Yeah, alright. So now if I refresh this page, I open this page, I should get my alert, and I'm getting my alert, so means that this file is properly connected. And now I can start writing my code. So first, like I said, we are going to try this without the prompt and by fixing the starting and the ending point. So let's say my starting point, I'll store that in a variable named, I'll not store that, right? So let's say my starting point is 1, ending point is, let's say, 20, right? And before starting, let me just list out the things that we are going to use in this. So first, conditionals, then loops, then prompts eventually, and then one thing is the modulo operator, right? If you remember from the intro to data types lecture, modulo basically gives you the remainder from anything, of anything. Like, so basically A modulo B would give you the remainder when A is divided by B, right? So these are the 4 things that we are going to use in this. So, alright, so first thing that we know is we have to print a similar kind of structure, like 20, like 1 is odd, 2 is even, 3 is odd. So we are basically accessing the first 20 elements in this fixed case one by one, right? And so basically, how do we access a large number of elements one by one? We do that through a loop, right? So First, let's just make our loop, and I'm going to do a for loop. For var I is equal to 1, I less than equal to 20, plus plus I. Yeah, and plus plus I is again plus plus I or I plus plus or any variable plus plus basically means I plus is equal to 1, right? So these are the three methods of writing I plus is equal to 1. So here we have got a loop in which a variable named I is starting from 1. The loop is running until I is less than equal to 20, and on each iteration we are increasing the variable I by 1. So basically it will be 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, and so on until we have I is equal to 20, right? Is equal to 21. It will also run at is equal to 20 because the condition involves this equal to sign. So now let's just first print these elements. If I do console.log I and I refresh my page and I go to inspect console, I see I have my first 20 elements here. So now we need to add our is even or is odd thing. So before actually adding that, we need to determine whether the number we are currently on is even or it is odd, right? So how can we determine that? We can check its divisibility by 2, and if remainder is 1, number is odd, else number is even, right? So let's just do that. So I is our number. If we are doing I, then we are doing a modulus, then 2 equal to, and we'll put triple equal here. So if our remainder on dividing the number by 2 is 1, means it is odd, then we will put I plus is odd, right? And so if this is not the case, then the only other possible case is that I mod 2 is 0, because 0 and 1 are the only remainders you can get by dividing from 2. So then we do else console.log I plus is even, right? So this is the whole logic behind this whole program, that we are iterating the first 20 elements here using a loop. Then we are checking the divisibility by 2. So if the remainder is 1, the number is odd. So we are printing I is odd. And if the remainder is not 1, then it can only be 0. And if a number is divisible by 2, then means it is even. So we're getting I is even. And now if I refresh this page, I get 1 is odd, 2 is even, 3 is odd, 4 is even, and so on until 20 is even. So this is exactly what we were aiming for, except we were aiming to get, get the starting and the ending points from the user rather than fixing them to be 1 and 20, right? So first I'll change this. Right. So now we need to get the starting and ending points first. So let's do that. I'll do so this is what we're doing here. I'll make some space. Right. So now let's get our starting point in a variable named start, and I'll do prompt enter starting point, and then I'll do var end is equal to prompt enter ending point. Right. So now we have a starting and ending point. So how do we handle them? So we see that when our starting and ending points were 1 and 20, we had 1 here and 20 here. And that is actually the only thing that we need to change. So we have to start our variable from our start, and we need to end it at our end, right? So imagine having 10 and 20 in the start and the end. So I will start from 10. It will then go to 11 and 12 and so on due to this. And it will keep on running until I is less than equal to 20. So basically the range in which I will be running is 10 to 20 inclusive, right? So now if I refresh the page, it tells me to enter starting point. I'll enter 11. Ending point, I'll enter 24. And I get 11 is odd, 12 is even, 13 is odd, so on, 24 is even, right? So this is what we were aiming for, and this is exactly what I had, and this is how you would do it, right? So this exercise was basically just to get you comfortable with loops and variable and conditionals, and you could obviously do this with a while loop too. You could do something like var I is equal to start here, then you do while I is less than equal to end. Then you can take this whole thing, right? And you can in the end do I plus is equal to 1. And this would work just the same way, no difference, except you are using a while loop instead of for loop, which does not make a difference in the running at all, right? So I'll remove this. So this is what we have, right? And if you are able to do this, then now you are good to start with loops and conditionals, and we'll keep on moving to more complex ones as we need to. Basically, the concept will always remain the same, but you will be implementing more complex logics instead in place of this, modular thing. But you will eventually get used to that, and even if you're not quite comfortable, don't worry. We will use loops a lot, and I'll try to explain them again as we use them for the first and second time, right? And then you'll get more comfortable with them, right? Yeah. So that is it for this video. I'll see you in the next.